Hey everybody, I'm Tyson. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to do a special long-term ownership report on my stepmom Tanya's 2021 Acura RDX all-wheel drive. This vehicle was purchased actually brand new at the dealership right behind me, Acura Tempe, Arizona, on June 8th of 2021 with 24 miles on the odometer. As it sits today, it's at just under 70,000. She's got about 69,600. It is due for what's called a B17 service. We'll find out what that is when I get it in here. But aside from really some grippier tires that I'll show you a little bit later, it is a bone stock out of the box 2021 RDX. And it's actually served them pretty well. They live in northern Utah. Tanya and my dad deal with a little bit of inclement weather through these winter months, but the RDX has been a great replacement for her previous MDX that she had before this. And we'll show you a little bit about how the finish is and interior and exterior have held up over the last 5 years and 70,000 miles. So let's get the vehicle in for an oil change and service, and then we'll bring you a report after this. So as it turns out, we're actually going to leave the RDX here because we found out that it's got an outstanding recall for the seat weight sensor. So that's all part of the ownership experience. Once in a while you get it in for maintenance and they'll run the inquiry and show that it's got some outstanding recalls. So rather knock that out while the vehicle is here, which means I'm just going to get a ride back to the house and we will pick it up tomorrow. So I'll have to bring you back an update at that point. But meanwhile, hey, guess what's still in here? My 86 Legend has been, when did this get in here? I think mid-January, so it's actually coming out in a couple weeks, but it's got a lot of great traffic and attention in here. In fact, somebody tagged me the other day or notified me that there was a Reddit post about the car. Somebody had shared something about an 86 Legend, and I said, that's my car. So anyway, the next adventure for this car actually is going to be Tucson. So we'll get it out of here, drive it a couple hours south to Chapman Acura down there, and leave it for another 2-month stint. And we'll enjoy the continuation of our 40th anniversary festivities. So talk to you tomorrow when the RDX gets back. Okay, they'll ask you if we gave you this. Do you have any questions?
No.
Pretty simple stuff. All right, we'll see ya. Okay, we officially have the RDX back from its maintenance at Acura of Tempe, and I was going to go through a little bit of the findings as well as some observations for long-term ownership of this vehicle. So like I said, it's been 5 years since Tanya took delivery, and it's been an amazing vehicle for 4-season comfort and confidence up in northern Utah. They do get some pretty heavy snowfall certain times of the year. There's a bunch of stuff back in here. First thing I wanted to comment on is sort of overall versatility. We were doing some Home Depot runs this week as I've been involved with some home improvements, and we were able to fit some lumber in here. It stretched all the way from the back tailgate up to basically the front of the console, but it's totally doable with the seat folded down here. The panoramic sunroof is pretty sweet. It goes out over the top here like you can see. This one is optioned with the all-weather floor mats, and the accessory wheels here, they are 20s all the way around. The one thing Tanya has said repeatedly over the years, and some of you RDX owners might agree, is the cup holders on this thing are pretty inadequate, primarily because they're square shaped, and she has been pretty dissatisfied with how any kind of cup will just kind of rattle around in there. They should probably have some sort of a grabber thing to retain the beverage that way, but something that she's kind of overall, in fact, she said if there were ever one reason why I wanted to get rid of this, it would be just the cup holders. There have been a couple small, I think, infotainment glitches in terms of connectivity, but I know that one of them was resolved by way of software update, so I haven't heard of any other issues that she's noted since then. We'll take a quick peek under the hood. Probably not going to be much to look at here in terms of excitement, but it is the 2-liter turbocharged inline-4, 272 horsepower, 10-speed automatic, and this is the all-wheel drive version. There's some dust in here, which we'll have to address later on, but pretty seamless powertrain. Obviously with that 10-speed automatic, you're not revving the engine very high on freeways. Let's see what this shows for fuel economy specs. We got some doors open. I'm going to have to maybe shut those before it'll let me scroll through that stuff, but let's find out. All right, so 69561 on the odometer, 22.4 average MPG, but that was just since the last reset. This has the love it or hate it. See the classic piano black fingerprint scenario here, but it's got one of these touch pads that is sensitive to where your finger goes. And in this case, it's pretty sensitive, although I think this is the same system that I had in my 2021 TLX Type S, and I wasn't a huge fan of it, but it did kind of grow on me eventually. Last but not least, I'll just kind of do a walk around for the Cosmetic Condition. With 70,000 miles, it's actually pretty shocking how well the seats have held up. Not even any bolster issues to speak of there. And I didn't really make any effort to clean this up inside. This is pretty much freshly driven 800 or so miles from northern Utah, so what you see is what you get. But pretty clean finishes inside and out, even with the mileage. I noticed a few little cosmetic things on the back bumper here. In fact, it's hard to even see, but overall held up really amazingly, even in the inclement weather up there. I like the lower body side moldings in chrome there. It's a nice touch. Some scars up here on front. Utah is a front plate state, but she isn't running one currently, so there are a couple little holes here where that bumper or the bracket would attach. But yeah, really nothing to speak of in terms of even door dings, so props to Tanya for being an excellent parker, or at least having really good luck. I'll just show you real quick the summary here. So everything checked out green on this with 70,000 miles, except for, looks like there was a notation here about the cabin air filter needing some future attention. Fluid levels were good, no other adverse findings whatsoever. And the total came out, because this was a B17 service, like I mentioned, it was just under 300 bucks, I think. That included the oil. They're using 0W20 here, tire rotation, brake fluid, looks like a lot of inspection items. And then that one seat weight sensor was the recall. So probably something that affects a lot of RDXs from this generation. Looks like a campaign safety recall. Replace passenger seat weight sensors and recalibrate. They had the parts in stock, so it was something we went ahead and said yes to, just because Save's getting harassed about it later on. Anyway, pretty clean bill of health for a vehicle that I think is just now getting started with its next chapter of life, and hopefully Tanya hangs on to it for a long time to come, because I think it's going to be a great long-term vehicle. So we'll see when we report back on this. Maybe we'll do it another 5 years at about 140,000 miles and see what we have to talk about. Thanks for checking it out, and we'll talk to you later.